What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to take a look and talk a bit more about Terra Lunar Classic, in particular the 1.2% burn tax that's coming in. Everybody seems to be freaking out. All the exchanges are suddenly going back on what they said, but does it matter? And how quickly, even if we don't have these full-on transaction burns, can we get back to $1 or above? We're going to talk about that in this video and give us some timescales. If that's something you like the sound of and you are invested in Terra Lunar Classic, then hit the like button. It does let everybody know what's going on with Lunar Classic. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Do you know that over 70% of the people who watch these videos are not subscribed? We have a ton of videos on Terra Lunar Classic. We've been covering this since it was 4.0.1. So do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Come and join the crew that talks about Lunar, and let's dive into it. So like I said, let's take a look at these exchanges pulling out. Well, many moons ago, 15th of May, we saw this from Binance that says, I am just hoping that project teams can rise from the ashes and rebuild in a proper and sensible way. Regardless of my personal views or the solution chosen in the end, we will always be here to support the community in any way we can. Now, this is interesting. I wanted to open the video with this because everybody at the minute seems to be kind of freaking out about the fact that we're not going to be doing on and off chain burns. Now, off chain burns and on chain is obviously what we want. Spot trading fees would be great with a 1.2% burn tax, but even just the buys and the withdrawals, excuse me, the deposits and withdrawals should still burn a chunk of Terra Lunar Classic. Now, it's going to take much longer. We're not going to see as bigger burns, but it will still do it. And I think right now, I was talking about this on my live stream, 9 p.m. GMT every night, that this is a game of cat and mouse right now. None of the exchanges want to make that play. Now, we've seen Mexi has even gone back on what they've said. Now, they did test to see what that 1.2% burn tax, so they may go back on what they've said, but all the exchanges are playing cat and mouse. Who is going to be the first exchange that says, okay, we are going to do that? Because ultimately, and this is important, the exchanges don't pay for this. This comes out of the user's trade. So actually, this is completely free for the exchange to do it. The only benefit they're going to get, or sorry, the main benefit they're going to get is volume and liquidity from your Terra Lunar Classic. So I think, again, this is, I said it before, a big game of cat and mouse, and I do think we're still 4 days away from the implementation of that burn tax. I think there is so much more to come yet. I think everyone is anticipating the price. What are we going to see? Do we see it pump and then sell off? Do we see it consolidate? Do we see it just big sell off beforehand? A lot of questions for these big exchanges to have, and no one wants to get it wrong. That's the important thing. So I think we're definitely going to stay close to what goes on. Now, currently, Terra Lunar Classic hovering around the threes. We've been there for about 24 to 36 hours. Current volume $781 million, down 41%, market cap 1.8 billion. Now, the news and what we want to talk about is how quickly can we burn Terra Classic? How fast does it get us back to $1? And ultimately, there is so many things we've got to take to account: the daily volume, the price, the burn tax, on chain, off chain. There is so much to do, but what we can do is understand what that looks like from a supply perspective and equally a volume perspective. So you're gonna have to stay with me here because we're gonna do a few numbers. We're gonna crunch a few bits and pieces on this. Now, currently the supply, total supply, 6.9 trillion. Our actual circulating supply is 6.150 trillion on there. Now, if we take a look at the current volume, $780 million at today's price, it gives us those tokens through the trade, which burns 31 billion every day, which gives us a 197 days to burn the entire supply off. So you can kind of argue and say, well, we want to get to 10 billion. So it's probably going to be around the 100, and, you know, if we're burning 31 billion every single day on that volume, then we're going to be clearly about 195 days to get to that number that we want to. Now, equally, if we do have slightly less volume, so let's say that we only have 7,809,000, then, you know, we are in a significant predicament in terms of days because it's going to take much longer. We'll only actually be burning 104 billion a month. Now, here's the really interesting bit. Let's say we are at this volume, which is about 10% of the total volume. Given where we are, this probably accounts for maybe if we burn in off chain, on chain, and all that kind of good stuff. So let's get rid of that. So, you know, if we're burning less in terms of volume, but here's the bit that's interesting. If the price is less, then we quickly come down in days. Yes, it's still a huge number. I totally accept that. But then you start saying, well, if the price comes down and the volume goes up another 10%, we're at 1,313 days to burn the total supply. So what are we looking for? Well, ideally we want the exchanges to adopt the 1.2% burn tax in the biggest volume possible. Remember, it doesn't cost the exchanges anything to do that. You as the user would pay that difference. We then equally need some volume. Now, if you argue and say, well, at one point we were actually at 3.8 billion volume. If we did that at the current price, or the price of 2.4, which I think was our bottom, we'd actually burn it through in 32 days, which is pretty insane, which burns 190 billion a day. Now, obviously the price we would expect to go up. Let's say we even hit the 6s, we're going to take about 81 days. So there's a lot of variables that goes into this. Ultimately, what do we need to see? We need to see volume. Irrespective of whatever the exchanges do, volume is the key to the burn, and everything else on top of that makes things quicker. So if we got spot trading or margin trading fees and we put a 1.2% burn tax on it, we would get there quicker. Equally, if the price was lower, we would burn through coins much quicker. So it's all going to be a bit and wait and see what happens. Like I said at the start of the video, it is all a game of cat and mouse, I think, with the exchanges. What can we do ultimately as the user? Well, we can support the community. We support the validators that burn. We make sure we are as educated as we possibly can, and we understand everything that's coming up with the burn tax. Whenever we can, we voice an opinion on, vote on things. It's really important that we just immerse ourselves, if you're not already, into the entire Luna Classic ecosystem. Equally, stay up to date with this channel. There's loads of other channels and people that are talking about Luna Classic that can bring you amazing content. But if you want to stay up to date with this channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so you know, and turn the notification bell on so you know when we come in it. But big volume, cheap price, burn tax will significantly reduce the supply, and ultimately that's what we need to do to get back to that $1 mark. What's my personal view? I think we lose a zero by the end of this year. I think we certainly then build on top of the ecosystem into next year. We see more utility come down, we see more community validators, which I think is going to be a next huge move for Terra Luna Classic, and I think we're probably maybe 1.5 years away from getting towards that $1 mark. But look, let me know in the comments what you think. Again, so many variables, it's difficult to pinpoint it, but volume plus price could give us a really interesting next 365 days for Terra Luna Classic. But as always, guys, I appreciate all the support. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Let's get this out there, because I think a lot of people just assume a huge price, big volume, we're going to burn through loads. It's not the case. We need to understand that lower price, higher volume gets rid of more coins, but ultimately, does it build investor trust? I'm not sure. Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like on this video so let everyone know. Subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you all in the next video.